So a little bit of housekeeping from me, and yes, that is me mopping the floor, but next week, this bald a-hole is going to be away for 7 days. Now, nothing to worry about, I just have to go and sort some things, but don't worry, I promise you shall be in good hands, and just be nice to whoever takes over. Ups and downs is very important. Not really. Otherwise, though, hello, my friends. We have just had another episode of Monday Night Raw, and now we're building to Crown Jewel. And according to Finn Balor, when you say Crown Jewel, you have to point at your penis. But it's good to know these things, but let's not worry about that, and instead, let's take the finger of power. Mwah! There he is. Should not have done that. And let's give the good bits up and the bad bits are down when it comes to this wrestling event. So this was quite the start to Raw, wasn't it? Because it just started mid-promo of Bobby Lashley as he was all like, Brock Lesnar, I do not like you anymore, and I think we should fight. Now, this was very brave of Bob, because half the time, not half the time, 3/4 of the time, Brock ain't even at the show. But luckily for Lashley, this time he was. Lesnar then marched to the ring like Bobby had just insulted his mother, and we then completed the double silly name really quickly, because not only did they go into the ring post, but Brock was all like, oh no, I'm wibbly wobbly, so Lashley speared him through Barry barricade. I feel so sorry for Barry recently because he didn't stand a chance, and after all the wrestlers and all the officials had come out to separate these guys, Bob was like, nah brah, get out of my way. He went back to Brock, he took him out over on the announce table, then he picked him up and he threw him through it. The reason this rocks so much, though, is that who does this to Brock Lesnar? Nobody manhandles the beast this way, and it's the way that Brock Lesnar usually beats everybody else up, so this was kind of like Brock Lesnar punching himself. And sure, if I was going to be a Nigel nitpicker, I'd be like, why do we send the wrestlers out to stop with these situations? Because Shelton Benjamin was there. I was like, Shelton, why haven't you been on Raw in 78,000 years? But honestly, if you just tuned in and all of a sudden you had all this mayhem, you're probably going to go, well, maybe I should watch a little bit more, because who the flub knows what's going to happen. And I'm sure the reason we did this is because Brock is going to win at the pay-per-view premium live event when they do have a fight, but at least right now Bobby Lashley is looking super strong. I really enjoyed this. It was then time for Gallows and Anderson to have their first match, because they came to the ring with AJ Styles on the Titantron, the big screen. It said the only club that matters, because they're calling themselves the OC again. So I was very sad. If you are part of the 9th Street Chess Stamp Collecting Club, ignore these fools and keep doing you. They were also taking on the Alpha Academy, who have just become the team you do draw out when you do want a good match, although I would like them to have a story soon. And after Carl Anderson got beaten up for a little bit, he reached over to Luke Gallows, who got the hot tag. We then did that thing when all the other people then get tagged back in, even though they just had their ass whips for like an hour, all of a sudden in 8 seconds, their HP is back, and after Gallows had taken out Altus on the outside, Anderson was able to get out of a Chad Gable ankle lock, and they hit the Magic Killer. 1, 2, 3, they got a win. We shall throw an up in there too, because it was more than fine, but also, straight after this, we just went into another angle. Because as soon as we were done, the Judgment Day were all like, hi, we don't like these guys, we should go to the ring. Finn Balor also continued to be your drunk mate that just wants to cause chaos, because he came out going, oh, too sweet, man, what an absolute cliche. Nobody cares about that anymore, and don't forget, I know what you're referencing, and I started that damn group. It's true. He then challenged them to a match in Saudi Arabia, and as mentioned in the intro, when he said Crown Jewel, started making pointing motions towards his penis. I don't know what was going on here, but that's what he did. It really pissed off AJ Styles too. I don't mean the groinal movements, I mean everything Finn Balor was saying, and he was like, well, maybe we shouldn't wait till then and we should have a fight now, or do you need to ask Mummy Rhea Ripley for permission? Now, I do understand what we were going for with this, but here's the problem. Out of everybody that was stood out there, Rhea is probably the most intimidating one. So I was like, yeah, you probably should check with her, otherwise she may kill you. Boyfriend Dominic then spoke and was all like, oh, well, AJ, maybe you should go to SmackDown like my dad, Rey Mysterio, because you're a massive crybaby too. And Styles was done with this. He was like, listen, you absolute brat, I think we should have a match later on. And from nowhere, Rhea Ripley went, yep, we're going to do it. Dobby looked massively shocked about this, but then did get into it. And even though AJ wanted to do it right now, Dommy was like, no, look, just give me an hour or so. I need to get ready. was quite funny. Fair play to Dom as well, because he has found his role and he's getting better at this every single week. And the Judgment Day are just one of the best things in all of WWE at the moment. I truly enjoy them. Seth Rollins then came to the ring and he told everybody who didn't like him that they can kiss his ass. There you go. He is a big fan of people singing this song though, so please do continue that. And later on, he is going to be taking on Matthew Riddle for the United States Championship because he needs to right that wrong that happened at Extreme Rules when he did indeed lose. And you need to know, the entire time Seth was talking here, he was wearing those 3D glasses from 1999. The fans started to chant, "You tapped out" at him, so Seth was like, yes, I did tap out, because I knew the next night on Raw I had to fight Bobby Lashley for the United States Championship, so I was being smart, and also, I did this for all of you. And I was like, how have you done this for me, Seth? I don't care whether you win that belt or not. Mustafa Ali was the person who interrupted. Well, I didn't see that coming. He was like, oh, hey, Seth. Funny how you didn't mention that Brock Lesnar help last week, but I guess you were about to get there. He also said that Bobby Lashley had promised him a United States title shot. And I was like, well, so what? Big deal, Mustafa Ali. It's like getting with a brand new partner and going, well, the last boyfriend told me that they'd take me to Disneyland for my birthday. Well, tough luck. They're gone and you got to deal with someone new. So there is no Mickey Mouse for you. And this is when Rollins started to say, listen, Mustafa, you're a great guy in the ring. You're a great guy out the ring. I see how much you help people. And oh boy, howdy, everybody should give you a hug. Of course, this was a diversion tactic. They punched him right in the face. Amazingly too, he also threw Mustafa Ali into the ring post, and I may have to start a counter, because that was like 5-6 times, and Raw was only an hour long, and this is when he walked away. But look, there's more to this, and it gets really good. Honestly, Seth Rollins is just killing it right now, as far as I'm concerned, getting it up. The best part is that just as Rollins was being nice and then attacked Mustafa Ali, Kevin Patrick went, just as he was being complimented. Like, interrupting a compliment is the worst thing that can happen on planet Earth. We then finally got a follow-up to that whole JBL limo Baron Corbin stuff from about 78 years ago, because the car then rolled into Raw. In terms of canon, that thing's been driving for about a month. We will get there in just 1 second, because before then it was Damage Control time, because Io Sky, Dakota Kai were going to be taking on Candice LeRae and Bianca Belair with Bayley on commentary. And I always enjoy Bells on commentary because she's such a twerp. You can also just feel that we're still building towards War Games at Survivor Series. And the good thing about this is that our tag team champions won. Now, I understand sometimes for story purposes, you need to go the other way, but they were just taking on two random people, so they should be better. The good guys were on top to start this though, because Candice was able to hit a dive and Bianca threw Dakota out there in the most uncomfortable way you've ever seen, but I suppose whatever works. And eventually Io got back into this with this cool looking springboard drop kick, and every time Bianca Belair tried to make a tag, they stopped her by pulling her hair. Now, that probably is illegal, I can't really make a comment about it. Eventually, Bianca was still able to get the tag because she's used to people playing with her locks, which meant Candice was in there. She jumped off Dakota Kai's back and hit a senton onto Io. I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. Unfortunately, though, she forgot that she didn't have wrestling mass, so this was still 2-on-1, which is when Bianca Belair had to get back in there to balance things out. However, of course, we've already mentioned Bayley, so she was like, well, I know what I'll do here. I'll go under the ring and get a kendo stick, which is perfectly normal behavior. Except it's not. So I reached out to our kendo stick expert, Judd Doe, to try and figure out what the hell is going on. Hello, my name is Judd Doe, and I'm here today to tell you about the kendo stick. Now, what a lot of people do not understand about the stick of kendo is that it must live in a dry environment to survive. And after many, many years of study, scientists have realized that under a wrestling ring is the driest place on earth. So the next time you see a wrestler go under the squared circle to produce a kendo stick, know that this is their natural habitat, and essentially this human is causing carnage. Before all this too, LeRae and Belair did this double team to Dakota Kai that I think sent her into the Phantom Zone. But now that a weapon was about to get involved, Bianca was like, oh, well, I've got to stop you, Bayley. She was distracted. And Damage Control hit their double team finish on Candice LeRae, and they got the 1, 2, 3. So that does have to count as a distraction finish, so bring it down and mark it up by 1, but I tell you, they don't annoy me half as much anymore because they all tie into the story. And right now, Damage Control have to be getting victories because the whole point is they're meant to be taking over Raw. So I wouldn't say this is the best thing you've ever seen in your life, but it did what it needed to do. Let's get it up. Kathy Kelly was then interviewing Matt Riddle, who was focused on Seth Rollins' ass, because he's gonna kick it later. He also then just went to talk to Mustafa Ali, who was like hanging out over here quite creepily, and said, oh hey Mustafa, don't worry, when I become the champion later, you will get your title shot. When they walked over to another part of the backstage area, and they saw The Miz. He was freaking out because he said that he'd slipped on some water that a janitor had left there because he was so scared that Dexter Lumis was gonna get him and that he was now injured, so he's not gonna be able to take on Dex later. Now you can see what he was doing here. He was terrified. But can you blame him? The person he has to fight is a serial killer. We also need to point out that Riddle and Ali didn't help The Miz here. They're kind of horrible people. We then basically looked into the camera and shouted, would you watch NXT? Because there was an advert for the thing, when Cora Jade was on Raw as promised, because she found Rhea Ripley in Judgment Day and was like, look, Rhea, I need someone to take on Roxanne Perez later. Do you want to do it? Rhea is down for this too, so Cora made the best choice possible. If you're thinking to yourself, there's a lot of main roster superstars on NXT this evening. I wonder why that was. And then we got a return. I mean, it wouldn't be Raw without a return. I suppose it was actually two, because the first person out was John Bradshaw Layfield. And honestly, he was wearing these trousers that were so baggy, either he had gone back to the early 90s and stolen Vanilla Ice's pants, that is not a topical reference, or maybe he lost his trousers on the plane and he had to go and borrow Omos's. He, of course, wanted to be booed, so he was like, we're here in Oklahoma and your town sucks and I hate your sports team, but don't worry about any of that, because I want to talk about Rey Mysterio. The whole point, though, is that because Mysterio had run away from SmackDown going, I don't want to fight my son, I don't want to be here anymore, somebody has to be traded to Monday nights, and that is none other but his new client, I suppose, Baron Corbin. Now, the reason I was so pumped about this is because it has been teased for a while that maybe, just maybe, we're going to take Baron and go back to the ass kicker he was in NXT, because of course, Triple H was in charge of that, and Triple H is in charge now. Now, he didn't entirely do that here because he still came out to the Happy Corbin music, but he does have new ring attire, and also, like I say, we did have this Brock Lesnar-Paul Heyman dynamic here, and I don't think there's any problem with JBL continually going, Baron Corbin is the best, Baron Corbin is massive, Baron Corbin can kill you, don't mess with him. It then did get a little bit weird because JBL was all like, and I tell you who is no good, it's Dolph Ziggler. But as Dolphy Boy's name has been said, he came out and we did Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler. And not only did I think this was a good match, again, you can just see snippets here of Baron Corbin getting his edge back. I don't mean that edge. He's at home taking care of Beth. But anytime he could cut a corner, he did, including throwing Ziggles into Simba the Steel Steps. And even though Dolph did his big boy comeback at the end, was like, oh my gosh, I'm such a good baby face, Baron Corbin cut him off, he hit the deep six, he reversed the Famehacer, he hit the end of days, and he got the 1, 2, 3. Now, I do have to say, still a little bit annoyed that Drew McIntyre kicked out of that finish, and we didn't make a bigger deal of it, but hopefully now we can build it back up again. JBL also spent the whole time on commentary putting Baron over here and selling him like a monster, and he raised his arm at the end, and I tell you, over the next few months, I bet you see snippets of the old Baron Corbin coming back. There's something to this, and I'm very excited, hence why I'm typing on my imaginary typewriter, apparently. Just getting it up. And then The Miz got called out. I mean, what a goober. Because he was in the trainer's room going, ow, my leg, I'm never going to be able to fight Dexter Lumis. When Baron Saxton walked in saying, listen, Miz, we all know that the janitor wasn't scheduled to be at the building today. Lots of other people saw that it was you who spilt water on the floor. Ruh-roh. Now that does make him a massive snitch, and this is when Johnny Gargano walked past and shouted, oh, Dexter Lumis. So of course Miz jumped onto his feet to prove he wasn't injured. So once again, Gargano is a snitch as well. But now he is gonna have to fight Dexter Lumis because his plan had been crushed. all because of those meddling kids. So it does mean he shall face the crazy man later. And it's like, who is running the show? Surely he shouldn't be allowed to. MVP and Omos then called out Braun Strowman, so we are doing this. And they basically went, ha 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 ha, you're kind of tall, Braun, but you're not as tall as Omos. MVP also said that monsters aren't real, but giants are. I was like, come here, Mvup. You go tell that to Godzilla. NXT then attacked Raw again because Cameron Grimes was just here. And he was talking to the OC. He is having a problem with Schism though down on NXT, so he was like, look, I've got loads of money. I know you love money, Gallows and Anderson, so why don't you come and help out? And there was a good line from AJ here. He was like, don't do it, boys. He's only got cryptocurrency, but he did promise them cash, so now they're gonna be on that show too. So once again, why are they loading this card up so much? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But I enjoyed this because it's those magic words, it made sense. We then had some videos for Bray Wyatt and Crown Jewel, if you care about that fact, when it was time for AJ Styles versus Dominic. Man, do I like this nonsense. Because it went just exactly how it should have done. Styles was whipping this idiot's ass until Rhea Ripley got involved. It was like, oh yeah, AJ, why don't you hit me instead? And I swear, Styles said something along the lines of, somebody needs to blast this chick, and I tell you, no matter who you are, never say that in public. Dominic obviously had recovered during all of this, and he hit a dive because it is 2022 wrestling, but a few seconds after this, AJ Styles was able to hit a springboard forearm to the outside. So it's not the phenomenal one. That has to happen in reverse. This is when Ripley went into super distraction mode and even knocked AJ Styles off the top rope. So Dominic did the three amigos, because one, he's an asshole, and two, he knows who his real father is. It was so good though, because he went for the 619, Styles got out of the way and he applied the calf crusher, and he did that so smoothly, I kind of just stared at him a little bit, because I'm pretty sure he's a wrestling alien. Given that everybody's friends was out here, the OC started to argue with the Judgment Day, and Judgment Day started to argue with the OC. But the referee couldn't handle any of this, so Ripley was like, all right. She grabbed onto AJ Styles' foot, he kind of got rid of her, and when he turned around, Dominik Mysterio hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. And he beat flubbing AJ Styles. Ooh, the laddie. So we did finish this the most cliched way for WWE, but once again it didn't matter because it tied directly into the narrative, and Rhea Ripley was so happy with this. Oh, I tell you, it was a moment. The whole Judgment Day also celebrated like this was the best thing ever because yes, Dominik Mysterio beat AJ Styles, and the commentator put this over as well, which I enjoyed. Either way, pull it down. That is another distraction finish, but also I am giving it an up. All of this is kicking ass. And then The Miz was 100% right. Yep, because Johnny Gargano was all like, listen, Miz, you know how to get out of this. I know the real story, you know the real story, we know the truth, and if you just admit it, all of this will go away. And The Miz is like, I tell you what the truth is, a mad stalker man has been chasing me and is trying to murder me and nobody cares. That's right. Now this was the best thing we've done with this feud in ages because now we've planted the seeds. Miz has done something bad, and Dexter Lumis is trying to stop him, and I think eventually the Miz is gonna have to admit it, but who the hell knows what that is? Maybe he leaves the toilet seat up. I did like the angle too, because this is when Dexter Lumis started walking to the ring. And look, if somebody told you, hey, you've now got to take on this absolute insane person, you'd be like, no, I don't want to. So the Miz got a chair, and he hit Dexter Lumis over and over again, before he hit the skull-crushing finale, not only into it, but in the damn entranceway. We also got more later because Johnny and The Miz were talking again, and Gargano was, look, I know you don't want to talk about this because you're going to lose your reality show and you may lose your career, but it's still the right thing to do, and what you just did to Dex ain't going to stop him. So now I'm like, well, I need to know more about this. So we do have to give it an up. I am going to throw in that Dexter Lumis debuted on Raw on the 8th of August, and we've taken a little too long, but better late than never. Damage Control interview after this. They're mad because they're always mad. The point is they've taken out Alexa Bliss, they've taken out Asuka, so Bianca Belair has to be next, and next week on Raw, we are going to do Bales versus Belair in a non-title match. And thank goodness for that, because Bayley doesn't deserve it at all. But this is nice and simple. She could beat Bianca Belair, and then we can do the rematch. And I presume Bianca Belair wins again. Shrug emoji. Return number 3 was after this. We're gonna have to start a counter. This one is hilarious too, because man, it was Elias. And his beard has just grown back, and he was all like, oh, my poor brother Ezekiel's career got cut short early. And to be fair, the last time we saw him, he was in a local medical facility. I suppose it's true. Kevin Owens must have been somewhere in the back losing his mind though, and where the hell has KO been for the last few weeks? And this is when Elias was all like, look, I know I usually bling ding ding play the guitar, but tonight I shall play the piano. And then just as he was about to hit a key, Matt Riddle interrupted him. Now I like this gag because it is forever funny, and the only real issue with this is that Elias is now a babyface, and obviously Riddle is a babyface, and they went a bit too much babyface here to the point it got a bit cheesy. And of course, Riddle had bongos just so he could say, does anybody want me to hit my bong? And if you know, you know, and kids don't worry about it. Elias was surprisingly calm about this because he is a good guy now. So he was like, hey man, you just sit down, I'm gonna play my song. And he started playing piano, it was pretty good. And then just when he was gonna sing, Seth Rollins interrupted. And honestly, it's Elias's facial reactions. It's like it's the worst thing that's ever happened to him in his life. Of course, the real reason we did this is because we were going straight into our main event US title match, and we needed some shenanigans, so we kept Elias out there. I mean, at one point when the referee was trying to calm Riddle down and Seth Rollins shoved Elias, he just kneed him right in his face. So we started to think maybe, just maybe, although obviously not, Riddle's gonna win. Otherwise, you know the deal here. We have seen Riddle and Rollins go at it for the last few months, and they're incapable of having a bad match. At one point, Seth Rollins on the top rope, and he did this reverse suplex into this reverse DDT thingamajig. And I was actually like, well, that was just stupid. That was how the hell did he come up with that? Riddle also scored with the bro Derek, and when Seth came off the top with a flying nothing, he did go right into the triangle choke, which was doubly worrying for Seth Rollins, because that's exactly how he lost at Extreme Rules. Like he did at that premium live event, he started going crazy, and he was hitting powerbomb after powerbomb, he hit a set-out powerbomb, but Matt Riddle was like, I shall not release this for anything, damn it. So eventually Seth had to get to the rope, and it's a good thing he did. He was gonna pass out. Seth then got so panicked he was on the outside going to Elias, hit me, and caused the disqualification. And Elias probably should do it because Seth Rollins then super kicked him. But this meant when they got back in the ring and Riddle hit the draping DDT and he was going for the RKO, Elias made the dumbest move ever. He was like, well, I'm gonna get in the ring. That's how annoyed I am. This caused confusion. Seth pushed Riddle into Elias. He fell down. Rollins hit the curb stomp. 1, 2, 3. Can you believe it? Rollins also stomped Elias after this too, and I tell you, if we do a Seth Rollins-Elias feud, it's gonna be like that Spider-Man meme when they're pointing at each other, because they do look just like each other. But this is when Raw got even better. But you know what? I enjoyed it so much, I'm gonna give the match an up, and I'm gonna give a separate up to our fallout. Because I did feel like we needed something, and this is when Mustafa Ali returned and flubbed me sideways. He kicked the absolute shit out of Seth Rollins, and the whole time he was shouting, I'm your problem, I'm your problem. This really did feel like our first proper push for Mustafa, and I am absolutely here for it. And I don't even care if it works, and I don't even care if it doesn't work. We are giving him a chance, so now he can swing and swim. But I mean, the worst we're gonna get is some fantastic matches between Seth Rollins and Mustafa Ali for a championship. And I will tell you right now, I bet they're flubbing excellent. So I am properly excited about this. It's something I've wanted from Mustafa Ali in ages because he is so damn talented and Seth Rollins is just so damn on fire right now. Lots of dams going on. Point is, I'm giving it an up. I mean, I've already given it an up, but I'm just letting you know. Which brought us to the end of Raw. And yes, look, it's happened again. It's all the ups and it's all downs. Now, this is going to be terrible for the people over the last 3 years who said, Simon, you're so biased towards AEW. No, I am biased towards good wrestling. And there were certainly things on Raw that you could pick holes in, but were they down-worthy? No. And I actually think WWE is on a tear right now. So let's celebrate that because pro wrestling is great. Giving it an up. Now, please do leave a comment below and let me know what you thought about last night's episode of Raw. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com where we'll keep you up to date with all the wrestling news. Come follow us on social media. Please, go watch other ups and downs videos. This is like 90% of my life. My name is Simon for WhatCulture. Thank you very much for joining me as always. You have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow for AEW ups and downs. What a crazy, crazy time. You take care.